Hey guys, it's Justin and welcome back to another video. So in today's video, less about if you have an Airbnb, should you manage it yourself or should you hire a management company to take the day-to-day basis of your Airbnb. Before we get into it, I want to talk about the sponsor of this video, Aura. If you're like me and love saving money, you probably shared your Netflix password with your friends and family, and statistically, the average consumer has 90 accounts. It's most likely that you don't have 90 different passwords to go with each one. So if someone has one of your passwords, they probably have access to your other accounts. This can make you and your accounts extremely vulnerable to things like identity theft and fraud. And if you think that won't happen to you, just know that American consumers lost $56 billion from identity theft in 2020. And that's a lot of money. This is why I've partnered with the sponsor of this video, Aura. Aura is an identity theft protection, fraud monitoring, a VPN, password management, and antivirus software all combined in one easy to use app that monitors the dark web for your emails, passwords, your social security number, and quickly sends alerts right to your phone and email. I've dealt with fraud and I know with fraud, every second matters. I love Aura because it can connect my credit and bank accounts and notify me of any changes up to 4 times faster than Aura's other competitors. Aura's VPN allows me to stay anonymous online by keeping my browser history and personal info safe and encrypted. And the best part is that Aura's antivirus software will block malware and viruses before they infect devices. Aura found my personal information on the dark web 5 times in the past 2 weeks. So stay safe and start your 2-week free trial today at aura.com/justlean. Once you sign up, don't forget to comment down below how many times your personal info was found. Back to the video. Let's talk about what management companies will do versus when you do it by yourself. Well, one, management companies are going to do your day-to-day operations, as in take care of the small, big stuff and everything involved running a business like Airbnb. Airbnb has so many moving parts because one, it's like a hotel business. So imagine you having to run through a whole hotel business when you have one unit. Well, if you have one little home, it might be pretty simple. But if you have 2, 3, 4, 5, it can get a little tricky, and having like 10 or more, it might be worth it just to hire a management company to get the load off of your day-to-day basis, where you can focus on better things and more productive things to get you more income or cash to get more properties for your future on Airbnb. So with that being said, let's talk about when and when you shouldn't hire a management company. And the first one is going to be location. Number one is, where are you located versus your Airbnb? This is what you're gonna have to figure out, because one, if you have small little problems like guests can't check in, or the lock's batteries have died, or something is uncleaned, or something has been broken, those are small things that if you live like 2 hours or even 40-50 minutes away, are you willing to make that drive and spend 3 hours of your time of your day to get that fixed? And for some people, it might not be worth it. And especially for me, it's not worth it. So that's why you hire a management company depending on the location. Now, if you live like 5-10 minutes from your Airbnb, there might not even be a reason to hire a management company, because you can just hop in, hop out real quick, spend a couple minutes and get it done. But location is a big factor depending on where your Airbnb is located and where you are living. That's going to be the biggest thing, because that's going to make or break a deal depending on if you're buying something local versus something out of state. Let's go ahead and talk about number 2, do you have time? This also includes going for number 1, but adding on to that, do you have time? Like I said, number 1, the biggest thing about Airbnbs is that you're gonna have to take a large amount of time to manage properties. And it's not just the cleaning, it's not just the managing, it's not just the communication aspect. There's so many other things involved in Airbnbs, like automation, getting your listing up, making sure that your cleaners come in, come out. If there's any maintenance issues, are you coming in and out? Are these getting resolved? These are things that you have to be aware of. And if you aren't, then your Airbnb is going to fail. So the biggest thing about it is, do you have time? Are you willing to spend 6 to 8 hours of your day to run an Airbnb business? And that's a personal question you should ask yourself. Is your time worth you going out and spending 8 to 6 hours a day working on an Airbnb? Or would you take that 6 to 8 hour and work on something else, build more cash for future Airbnbs? So this is all on a personal question. If you're making or 10xing your money with Airbnb and you want to keep a quality control, maybe it's time you take that 6 to 8 hours and just put it into Airbnb and fully invest yourself into it. But if you're someone who has 10 units, have a 9 to 5 job and have so many things going on, then hire a property manager. Take care of your day-to-day basis at Airbnb. We have clients that we property manage and they work a 9-to-5 job, right? Their husband and wife works a 9-to-5 job. They also do YouTube on the side, and they've got so many other things going on with their lives with just having kids, so they don't want to spend time doing all the communications, getting the good ratings, going with having to price things daily. There's a lot of things that goes on that they just don't want to deal with, and they've already been in the Airbnb game. And that's why people hire us or property managers to deal with these things. That way their time is valuable and they get to unload a couple things to us while paying us for the value we give them. Now that we talked about do you have time, let's talk about the third one, if it's worth you hiring a property management, is personal touch. Now, personal touch is going to be the biggest thing because one, when you go into an Airbnb or even a hotel, have you ever seen where the TV says your name and how long you're staying and this and that? Those are the personal touch that we're talking about. Like all our properties, we add personal touch and we make sure our cleaners add them too, to the point where when they come in, they know it's been cleaned for them, that they know that that stay is for them only and no one else. And so these are the personal touches where property management companies will take away, because remember, property management companies have like 100 to 200 to maybe even 300. Who knows how many they manage day-to-day basis. And they're not going to give that sweet southern hospitality to every single guest. Their job is to make sure that the guest gets in and that's it, right? As much as yes, they want to make sure they maintain your property, they're not going to do a good job as you because they're not the owner. All they're doing is they're just managing the property. If it's going good on Airbnb and everything's getting resolved, then that's their job. And they're okay with that because they're getting paid for that. So if you want to give a personal touch to your Airbnb, then it's probably best to just keep it on yourself and manage it yourself until you grow to maybe 3 to 5 units or 3 or 5 Airbnbs, and then start to scale up from there and start hiring or trying to vet couple Airbnb property managers to see if they're a good fit for your business or not. All right, now that we talked about keeping it personal with your guest, let's talk about number 4, which is going to be profit margins. This is one of the biggest things that I see with if you're starting Airbnb, and this is something that you should always account for when you start an Airbnb. Airbnb property management usually start at 20%, and these are going to be your medium level 20%, and they're going to go all the way up to maybe 30 to 35% of your gross income. Not your net income, your gross income. So every single booking you have, including the tax, is what they're going to take as gross income. So there's a lot of chunk that they're going to take. So you have to account for that when you purchase a Airbnb. When you start Airbnb, you need to know which model you're going for. If you know you're going to go out of state, then you have to make sure that you're going to put in those profit margins for a property manager to take hold of your property. Because if you don't, you're going to struggle. And if you have a small little problem with cleaners or the guest gets locked out, that 5-hour drive or that 3-hour drive or that flight you might have to take just for a guest is not worth it, and your rating's going to go down. And you don't want that because you bought a Airbnb to make money, not to lose money. So making sure that you have profit margins for a company or a property management company is really important, because remember, 20% is a big chunk of change. So you have to make sure your mortgage is including this, your HOA, if you do have HOA, your cleaners, make sure that that profit margin is included with the 20% to where you still net profit with all of that expense going out. So with that being said, guys, if you have one or couple units, like 2, it might be good to just start off and get the skin in the game and start learning how to do Airbnb yourself and do it by yourself. But as you start to scale and you want to get more Airbnbs around the world and you want to scale up to have more Airbnbs, it's good to start outsourcing that to property managers to take those day-to-day basis jobs off of the load of what you're doing. Because one, as an investor, you should be important on gaining more properties, not dealing with the business of being in the Airbnb sector. So with that being said, let's do an overview on when you should do a property management versus when you should do it yourself. So number 1, location. If you're living close to the area, go ahead and just do it yourself. Now, if you're outsourcing to, let's say you live like me, if I live in Georgia and I want to buy a Airbnb down in Nebraska, then obviously I would probably hire a property management, and I wouldn't want to do it myself. Number 2, do you have the time? A lot of investors don't have time to deal with the day-to-day basis of working of an Airbnb unit. So if you don't have the time, outsource. If you have the time, do it. And remember, how much are you getting paid hourly? Is it worth you spending that time on Airbnb, or is it worth you going ahead and doing something else to make up for that time? So think of the options you have, and time is very valuable these days, and time should be valuable for everyone. That's the biggest asset you have. So if you're spending so much time on Airbnb and it's getting away with your work or a couple other things, go ahead and outsource that. That 20% is way worth it than you having to deal with that 24/7. Number 3, personal touch. Do you want to give a personal touch to your guests? Do you want to make sure everything gets done in your according order? Now some rule that I live off of is 80-20% rule, right? 80% should be enough, right? If you struggle to get 100%, yes, you'll get great ratings and maybe you'll have a lot of great things going on with your Airbnb, but that 80% you spend your hours on, you could have had a property management do 80% of that work and still get the same work done. So is it worth you making that personal touch? And that's something for you to find out. If you want to make sure your Airbnb is the top notch and you want one Airbnb and you're only focused on one, then maybe give it a personal touch and do it yourself. But if you're looking to scale, make it big, make it a huge business, then go ahead. Don't worry too much on the personal touch, because that's what property managers will try to do, and you can talk with property management to try and give them a personal touch to your guests. Number 4, the biggest one, is going to be your profit margin. Do you have the profit margin to hire a property management? If you don't and you're paying out of pocket, you probably got yourself in a bad deal, but you're going to have to run it yourself unless you're going to pay out of pocket. Have a management company. I hope when you calculated your ROI and everything with an Airbnb, you did include profit margins. But if you didn't, it might be one of those things that maybe it's time you sell that property and go ahead and get a new one where you can find the profit margins to hire a property management. So with that being said, guys, I hope you found this informative. If you are looking for, if you're managing yourself or if you're trying to hire property management, I also manage properties on Airbnb and I also co-host on Airbnb. So if you are interested, maybe go ahead and link up with me and try and see if it's a good deal for you or not, and see if it works out for your Airbnb. So with that being said, guys, I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure you guys subscribe to this channel for more informative videos just like this. And with that being said, guys, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.